So correlation versus causation. We had the storks and we had the recipes. Not yet. I'm going to make a deal with you. If you can give me several plausible alternatives for each of these scenarios that you came up with, I will not grade this closely. Deal? I'll let you group think it instead of grading you individually. Because this is a tough one, especially that second one. Often you got to work pretty hard to get where you need to go. So the first one, let's see, I'll put it up here. That was the storks. Biologically plausible? Of course not. We know storks don't bring babies. That's ridiculous. But the correlation's real. So give me an alternative. Give me another idea about why that correlation might exist. Dominic.
Both the human population and the stork population are constantly rising. So.
But they're not. Like the correlation tells you that not only is it high birth rate correlate with high stork population, but in places where there's low stork populations, there's also low birth rate. So it's not a constantly rising thing. This is a real correlation. Well,
storks birth rate the same amount during the same time period.
So maybe it's a time thing. You're saying like maybe in the spring we're seeing, but that again that doesn't explain. This is across different cities, and in the cities where we see high birth rate, we see high storks. In the cities where we see low birth rate, we see low storks. Eli.
If the city grows in population, they also have to build more buildings and build more places. And when they do that, they provide more places for the storks to nest.
Ooh. Okay, now we got something. Maybe high birth rates are causing high stork populations because more people means more buildings. And you're saying maybe the buildings are places where storks nest. Excellent. I like that a lot. Amanda.
Water features are often put in areas where a lot of people live. So I think that if a lot of people lived in one area, they might build like a man-made lake there, and the storks would naturally flock there. So the stork populations go up. But in less populated places, they wouldn't bother building giant man-made lakes, and so the stork population would go down.
So, kind of like his, except instead of buildings, it's water. And storks do like water. They are wading birds. So it is possible that where there's a high birth rate, humans are more likely to, you said, put in water features. That's certainly possible. I like that. What do you got, Ellen?
Major cities are originally built around water, so where that's going to be, especially breeding there, and as humans evolve and grow, those are going to increase.
Yeah, not only do humans put in water features, but I mean, Europe is that civilization, well, the set of civilizations in Europe, very old. Those cities are very old. And even modern cities tend to do this, but old cities especially are built on water, like especially rivers and coastlines for transportation reasons, for industry reasons, right? And so, yeah, if your industrial areas are likely to have higher birth rates, and they're likely to be built on water, and storks like water, maybe you've got your correlation there. Good, good.
More people means like more likely storks will get food from people. So as the birth rate rises, more people will give storks food.
So you're saying maybe storks are kind of like pigeons and ducks and those other species that, you know, humans will go, aw, and throw them a cracker every once in a while. So maybe it's that high birth rates means more people to feed the storks. Great. Anything else?
More storks. They could be in an environment that represents high biodiversity, and very fertile soil for farmers. And farmers usually have a lot of children because they value them. They value them as workers.
Wow.
Since the farmers usually have more children, and the storks actually make the soil more fertile with the biodiversity.
I told you, every year I hear ones I've never heard before. I've never heard that one before. Excellent. Yeah, so the idea is that if there's storks, that represents a robust, diverse ecosystem that's more likely to have rich soil. Rich soil means more farmers. And if the stereotype, I've never heard it before, that farmers have more babies is true, maybe. Love it. Love it. Anything else? That's enough, but if you got other ones you like, let me know.
This one's kind of funny, so I thought I'd share it. People who see more stork couples and children are more likely to think about their own family.
It's almost always a boy that comes up with this one. I love that it's you this time. The idea is that storks, being this symbol of fertility, storks bring babies, and they're basically, where there's a lot of storks, more young couples are going to look up and go, "Aw, storks, honey, let's have kids." Right? The storks are inspiring the babies. Hilarious. I love it. Good. Okay, moving on to the tough one.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Storks bring babies, not literally, but like figuratively. I love it. Newspaper dessert recipes are causing obesity because when we measure both things in cities, they correlate. That is to say, and don't make the same mistake as with the storks, that even if the correlation works high or low, the less the calorie content of the dessert recipes, the less obese the people are. The more the calorie content, the more obese the people are. If it's not the recipes causing the obesity, what else could it be? Like
During the holidays, like Christmas and Thanksgiving, the
Mhm.
newspaper will be posting things like Thanksgiving turkey and pumpkin pie and Christmas desserts and things that are usually high in calories, and you eat them in large sums. And also during the holidays, especially over like winter break, you tend to put on a couple pounds because for those 2 weeks, you're just sitting inside eating and enjoying, especially Thanksgiving, which is just eating.
So you're saying there's a third factor, which is the time of year. But the problem is this is a correlation across different cities. So the correlation still exists that the higher the calorie content, the more obese the people, the lower the calorie content, the less obese the people. Doesn't factor time of year in.
In more populated, in the cities, in bigger cities, there's often more fast food.
Mm-hmm.
And so, since those are more popular, there will be the more popular foods in magazines have a higher caloric value. And in smaller cities, there tend to be a lot more home cooked meals. So there's most likely going to be more home recipes that are a little bit more healthy.
So you think it might be the size of the city that is causing this? But why? Huh? I still don't see. I don't get it yet. What do you got?
The higher the obesity rate, the more obese people are involved in that community, and the higher chance that obese people can be even newspaper writers. And they may bring their own recipes on how they got obese into the newspaper, causing the high caloric content of these desserts.
So he's saying it's not some lurking variable C that's causing both A and B. It's just I got it backwards. He's saying it's not the recipes that are causing the obesity. It's the obesity causing the recipes to be, because there are more obese people in that city. You're saying, okay, some of them probably work at the paper. And they're probably making the decisions about what recipes to put in the paper. And they love high calorie desserts. I think you're probably close to the truth. What else you got, Sam?
I've heard people that read ads to make the high calorie desserts even higher calorie.
Oh, I see. So you think but still that doesn't explain the correlation of, that it tracks with that. I'm sure you're right, but that doesn't hit the correlation.
Oh, well, if you're reading the newspaper, then you're probably not, you don't have a tight schedule, so you're able to eat more and like make more recipes and stuff.
Yes. You're almost still saying that the recipes are causing the obesity, though, like newspaper readers. And that doesn't, yeah, I don't know about that.
In different cities, like let's say, this one city is very focused around athletics and gyms. The viewers of the newspaper will more likely want to see healthier food options, but in places where obesity is higher, those people will more likely want to see high caloric food.
So you're coming at his from the opposite angle. You're just saying it's not that the obese people work at the newspaper, it's that this newspaper knows its audience, that we know what the people want. If we're in Huntington, West Virginia, we know the people want pound cake and chocolate-filled chocolate bombs. And if they're in San Francisco, they know the people want falafel and granola. Terrible stereotypes, but Huntington is one of the most obese cities. Yeah.
So, the newspaper in Pittsburgh, I can see kind of this correlation that usually companies also sponsor dessert recipes, but they don't include the caloric content.
Oh.
So the closer you are to like the sugar or sweet company's distribution center, the higher chance it is for them to sponsor an ad.
Interesting.
Usually, if it's not a sponsored ad, it's usually home cooking. You give the calories because you want it to be healthy.
Okay.
And so you're going to feel worse if you give the calories and it's high rather than it's sponsored and it's high. And because it's sponsored, that means it's close, which means more obese people have higher access to these.
Pittsburgh has the best bad food.
Yes.
I love that you can walk into most like bar and grills and get a Ben Roethlisberger. Okay, good. That I am satisfied. You did good. Found lots of reasons why the storks might be correlating with the birds, and a couple of, and really I think there's only a couple plausible explanations for that second one. You got them both. So good work. Give yourself a pat on the back, and keep those notes out. Yesterday we talked about the null hypothesis and the characteristics that all living things share. Tomorrow we'll do something involving that. I'd like to get us outside. That's my goal for tomorrow. Have you get outside and see some living things. Today I just want to clean up one thing that I realized is in the sample essays that we haven't talked about. I pretty much trust you with it because it's very simple, but I'm going to go ahead and mention it. And that is observation and inference. Do you know the difference? So, hang on a second. All right, I want you to stop me when I'm not making observations anymore. Sam has a light blue mask. Cole has brown hair. Selene has black hair. Colby Pilly, right. Colby Pilly is in ROTC. And what? He's
says ROTC.
He's wearing a shirt that says ROTC.
Yeah, but because he's wearing a shirt, you made the difference. Oh, he's in ROTC.
That's true. Could just be wearing a shirt.
You saying maybe Colby beat some kid up and took his uniform?
Yeah.
Honestly,
I'm sorry,
That sound like Colby?
like he's wearing a ROTC. Everybody's like, oh, he's in ROTC.
Absolutely. Yes, that was not an observation, that was an inference. I know that is one of the, what do they call that, BDUs or something? And he's wearing something that I know is part of the required ROTC uniform. And so I'm using that prior knowledge to make the connection that, yeah, he must be in ROTC. I could totally be wrong. So, you know, that's the difference. We rely on inference a lot in science, but we absolutely have to know when we're just making observations and when we are inferring things based on those observations and on our prior knowledge. Is really it for our scientific literacy unit. What I would like you to do now is take the pre-assessment for our cell biology unit. It is just freshly dropped into Classroom. And then I'd like you to use the remainder of the period to work on those sample essay questions.